Chosen one, recognition is not lightning, it is clarity. It does not knock you to the ground. It lifts the fog so you can see the road you are already on. After the dance has begun to find its shape, the moment arrives when guessing gives way to knowing. The signs are not theatrical. They are domestic, honest, cumulative. You notice that time with them does not require recovery. You realize you are telling the truth without rehearsing it first. You hear your own laughter, and it does not sound like an audition. The body signals before the mind drafts its memo. Shoulders lower, breath lengthens, appetite steadies. This is recognition, spirit remembering spirit without needing a sales pitch. The world sells recognition as immediate certainty. Heaven practices it as trustworthy continuity. You will not be spared the work of discernment. You will be spared the chaos of doubt masquerading as drama. Pay attention to the way peace behaves. Counterfeit peace is quiet because it has taken hostages. True peace is quiet because nothing vital is being threatened. Counterfeit peace works only when the lights are low. True peace holds in daylight. Counterfeit peace depends on momentum. True peace survives pauses. Sit with them in the pauses. If silence can visit without being taxed for entertainment, you are near the meadow where knowing grows. Recognition introduces you to yourself again. You will hear sentences coming out of your own mouth that you have been trying to believe for years, and now they sound like you. You will see your strengths welcomed without being exploited, your softness handled without being patronized. You will discover a new preference you did not expect. Boredom together is better than excitement alone. This is not a failure of adventure, it is the triumph of home. The love of your life will not compete with your calling. It will make your calling less lonely and more honest. You will work better because you are no longer working to justify your longing. Longing has found a listener. There will be confirmations, some subtle, some as plain as weather. You will make a small plan and keep it without resistance. You will disagree and leave the conversation without contempt appointed to guard the door. You will say no to each other and feel more secure, not less. You will notice how easily both of you repair. A text that owns the sharp edge, a call that arrives without a courtroom, a hand that returns to the table before pride can rehearse its closing argument. These are not charming quirks. They are structural proofs. They say that your bond respects humanity more than it worships heat, and bonds that do that can survive seasons without turning into museums of old photographs. Recognition will ask you to stop auditioning for the future and start building it. Small logistics become sacraments. Calendars bend toward each other. Margins appear around weekends that used to be crowded with the errands of avoidance. Meals become less about performance and more about nourishment. What feeds the body? What feeds the day? What feeds the heart? Prayer returns, not as crisis management but as orientation. You begin to say we in sentences where I would have been the cheaper syllable, and it does not feel like vanishing. It feels like accuracy. The chosen ones recognize that union is not subtraction. It is geometry that makes more space inside the same frame. Guard against superstition in holy clothes. Numbers, songs, and coincidences will weave a gentle chorus around your days. Enjoy the chorus. Do not let it choose for you. Recognition is not outsourced to omens. It is carried by character. Keep testing for the fruits that cannot be faked for long. Patience that doesn't pout, kindness that remembers names, faithfulness that shows up on ordinary Tuesdays. Stay curious about how both of you treat the smallest commitments. The future is hidden inside how people handle smallness. Love that can honor the small can steward the great without crushing it. Let your circles witness at the right time. Bring this person into rooms that formed your courage and watch how the air behaves. Do your people become kinder in their presence or more defensive? Does your new steadiness make them relieved or suspicious? Pay attention without paranoia. The love of your life will not isolate you. It will integrate you. Integration looks like laughter that includes the old friends, like schedules that make room for family without resentment, like mentors who find themselves blessing you without having to be asked to play the role. Where friction surfaces, address it early. Recognition is not an excuse to ignore work. It is the reason to start it with hope. Do not confuse ease with absence of weight. Love will introduce you to new kinds of responsibility. You will find yourself wanting to be more accurate with money, more honest with time, more careful with speech. You will resist shortcuts because you can see how they would cost more now that two futures are at stake. This seriousness is not heaviness, it is honor. The chosen ones carry glory lightly by taking stewardship seriously. The right person will admire this in you and ask to join the work, not outsource it. If fear visits, and it will, because fear keeps calendars no matter the season, welcome it with proportion. Sit it down, pour it some water, and let it say its piece before you let truth reply. Fear will insist that goodness must be borrowed and paid back with interest. Truth will remind you that goodness given by God is provision, not a loan shark. Fear will show you old films of hurts you have already healed. Truth will invite you to notice how different your responses are now. Fear will ask for a guarantee. Truth will offer you a path. Walk the path. Guarantees belong to idols, paths belong to God. There comes a day when you test the word love in your mouth and it does not feel like counterfeit currency. You say it privately first, to God, to your journal, to the part of you that still distrusts relief. Then you say it to them at the speed of truth. The moment will be quieter than the movies warned, and more revolutionary than your younger self knew. Love, spoken accurately, is not a flare shot into the sky. It is a key turning in a door that both of you will walk through again and again, sometimes laughing, sometimes tired, sometimes late for dinner, and still letting the key click because you want to hear the sound of home. Recognition will be proved over time by how you end days. Not with cliffhangers designed to keep the plot alive, but with benedictions that make tomorrow welcome. You will find yourselves blessing each other's sleep without thinking about it. You will send each other back to your separate pillows with the kind of kindness that does not keep score. In the morning, you will greet each other without a script. Scripts are for actors and seasons of insecurity. Recognition frees you to improvise with the confidence of musicians who share a key. And if you ask for a single test that does not lie, take this one and keep it close. After being with them, are you more yourself in God's presence? Not larger in your legend, not edited into acceptability, more yourself, truer, humbler, more at rest, more brave. If the answer keeps being yes across weather and weeks, you have recognized what the heart prays for when it is done with counterfeit. Move forward with reverence and joy. Keep the pace you promised yourself when your energy was loud and your wisdom was young. You will not miss what is yours at the speed of truth. Chosen one, every gift from God carries its own weather front, and with it comes pressure that reveals structure. This month's favor is warm and fragrant, and yet the first honest breeze will be a test, not of your charm or your appetite, those are already evident, but of your intention. The moment you begin to recognize the one whose frequency answers your own, the world will send lookalikes and shortcuts, old echoes in new clothing, offers that feel like destiny because they rush like it. Do not fear the tests, welcome them as calibrations. Intention is proved where hurry is available and you decline, where flattery is loud and you prefer fruit, where access is cheap and you still pay full price in truth. You will meet attention that treats your high energy like a key to every locked room. Resist being everyone's locksmith. Your current is holy voltage. It was not given to power counterfeit futures. Counterfeits are patient enough to mimic peace for an evening, excellent at quoting your language while ignoring your boundaries, gifted at calling their urgency chemistry and your caution fear. Real recognizes the pace that protects, the no that nourishes, the leaving early that keeps tomorrow sweet. When admiration arrives, let it be sunlight on the porch, not a pry bar at the door. Ask the quiet questions that counterfeits cannot answer for long without changing shape. Does this connection still feel clean when it is not spectacular? Does our honesty survive daylight? Does my reverence for you remain intact when my desire is awake? There are 4 stress tests that do not lie: time, truth, touch, and trust. Time asks, can our warmth stay warm while we move at the speed of sanity? Or must we manufacture crisis to keep the plot alive? Truth asks, can we name what is actually happening without marketing it into legend? And can we confess clumsiness without turning apology into theater? Touch asks, will we treat the body as a temple where consent is climate and covenant is the architecture? refusing to withdraw kindness when restraint is chosen. Trust asks, can we give and receive small responsibilities, schedules, secrets, simple promises, and have them return better than we sent them? You do not need to recite these aloud. Live them until they become your unstudied nature. Intention is not declared, it is demonstrated in these rooms. You will be tempted to prove yourself by generosity that empties you, or wisdom that never rests. Do neither. Intention that is healthy builds margins. It leaves conversations before scarcity can bargain. It refuses the sport of ambiguity. It does not audition for the role of savior in someone else's story. Your calling is not to be necessary, it is to be accurate. Accuracy sounds like simple sentences spoken at a human tempo. I honor this and will not hurry it. I feel the pull and won't spend integrity to purchase it faster. I'm grateful, and I'm keeping the edges that make gratitude safe. Spoken gently, these are not gates against romance. They are trellises that teach it to grow upward. Let your community be part of the test without turning them into a jury. Invite 2 or 3 whose love has a memory of your worst day and a hope for your best. Let them ask small questions with large consequences. Are you keeping Sabbath while newness is loud? Are you still kind to the barista and the driver when you leave their company? Is your excellence at work becoming more exact because you are steadier, or less exact because you are distracted? Real love makes you more local to your life, not less. It widens capacity, it does not erase fidelity. Chosen ones do not outsource discernment to omens, they anchor it in character, measured by those who have seen the seasons cycle. Financial honesty is one of heaven's favorite laboratories. Watch yourselves around money. It is not romance's enemy, it is romance's interpreter. Can you plan a simple evening without debt disguised as magic? Can you give without turning generosity into leverage? Can you say, not this week, and let dignity remain standing on both sides of the sentence? Budgets are not unsexy. They are vows with numbers. The love of your life is not repelled by arithmetic. They will bless it, because arithmetic becomes architecture when 2 futures intend to share a roof. There will be temptations to turn affection into audience. Resist the platforming of private tenderness. Keep the early weeks small enough to hear. The test here is whether you value being true over being seen. If counsel is needed, choose elders who don't measure wisdom in views. Share moments with God before you share them with an algorithm. Secrets kept for health are different from secrets kept for manipulation. You already know the difference. Your peace tells you. Let it. Conflict will come as a teacher, not an omen. The test is not whether you disagree, but whether you weaponize. Keep nouns precise and motives off limits. Say what happened and how it landed without telling the other who they are. Choose repair over victory and speed over spectacle. Texts that own the sharp edge without a closing argument. Calls that arrive before sunset. Pauses that prevent saying the brilliant sentence you would regret. These are the sacraments of intention under stress. Notice how your high energy behaves here. When it is governed, it powers patience. When it is vain, it powers drama. Choose your power plant. Finally, test your prayers. If your intercession turns into a shopping list for outcomes, return to the altar until it becomes a surrender for alignment. Pray for their flourishing in places that don't benefit you. Pray for their pace, their sleep, their work, their courage, with their own story. When you can bless them beyond your access to them, your intention has matured. Love that is ready to last is love that can let God be God without bargaining for the role. Pass these tests not by perfection but by pattern. Perfection performs and resents, pattern repents and repairs. When the month closes, you will not hold a certificate. You will hold a story your future can trust. Your yes will be smaller and stronger, your no will be kinder and quicker. An intention which began as a whisper against the noise will have become a road both of you can walk without breaking pace. Chosen one, after intention is tested and found honest, love asks for depth, not as drama but as density. Deepening is not a plunge, it is a settling. Think of a house whose framing is true. The crew returns to tighten every bolt, to seal every seam against weather, to insulate the rooms so winter is only a visitor. That is what this chapter is for. Your connection is sturdy enough to be quiet now. Quiet is where roots choose directions. Begin by making room for ordinary days to be holy. Grand gestures are easy. Repetition is where devotion proves itself. The deepening looks like showing up at the same hour with the same warmth, returning messages at a speed that tells the truth about your bandwidth, cooking meals that feed more than appetite, leaving spaces in the week where conversation can wander without agenda. This is not anti-romance. It is how romance becomes habitat. Your high energy softens in this cadence, not because it is weaker, but because it finally has a home in which to rest between dances. Create shared liturgies small enough to survive exhaustion and large enough to carry meaning. A walk that summarizes the day and refuses to litigate it. A prayer before parting that blesses what was honest and releases what was clumsy. A weekly practice of asking, "What did you carry this week that I didn't see?" and letting the answer set the evening's pace. The world idolizes novelty. Deepening chooses familiarity on purpose, until familiarity becomes fluency. Fluency lets you speak gently when the vocabulary is hard. Build a commons where both lives can breathe. Calendars bend without breaking. Friends are met without being auditioned for sides. Families are honored without importing old scripts as law. The commons is protected by hospitality and boundary at once. You will say yes to invitations that feed your union and no to those that ask one of you to fracture to attend. The measure is simple. Do we leave more ourselves than we arrived? If not, adjust without apology. Deepening is stewardship of the shared atmosphere. Let work become witness to your love. You will notice excellence rising because steadiness has removed background static. Projects complete because you are no longer hauling identity into every meeting. You schedule rest like infrastructure, not indulgence. You decline opportunities that would pay well in applause but tax the union beyond wisdom. This is not smallness, it is strategy. The future you are building requires energy with an inheritance, not energy constantly rented to strangers. Enter the honest rooms of history together. Tell the stories you usually summarize and let them be long. Name the losses without hiring them as oracles. Name the joys without turning them into idols. Sit with the facts that shaped your reflexes, why you flinch at silence, why you over-explain when you feel accused, why you leave early when rooms grow loud. Offer context as a map, not a defense. Receive context as a gift, not a weapon. Deep water is clear not because it has no sediment, but because it has learned how to settle it. Practice the grammar of repair until it is your accent. When you miss, say so with verbs. I interrupted. I will wait for you to finish next time. I withdrew. I will tell you I'm overwhelmed before I disappear. I escalated. I will ask for a pause before the temperature rises. Repairs that cost you calendar or comfort are the only ones that add weight to trust. Offer them gladly. The point is not to avoid wounds. It is to heal them fast enough that scar tissue does not replace tenderness. Let touch become a liturgy rather than a lever. In deepening, the body is not a negotiation table, it is a chapel. You keep consent as music, not a checklist. You keep pace as protection, not punishment. You learn to read the difference between hunger and holiness, and you choose holiness until hunger becomes holy. The result is not less heat, it is clearer fire. Your high energy offered in honor creates safety spacious enough for delight to stay. You will find that affection becomes restful and rest becomes affectionate. This is covenant rehearsing itself before it is signed. Guard the union from spectacle. Celebrate in circles that can hold the weight of your joy without spending it. Post less than you live. Let privacy be a garden wall, not a moat. People who love you will understand when you say we are keeping this small so it can grow. You do not owe your intimacy to the marketplace. Sacredness is not a scarcity tactic. It is how you avoid turning miracle into merchandise. Generosity is how depth keeps from becoming self-absorption. Give together in ways that make someone else's day lighter. Sponsor a need without explaining yourselves. Volunteer in a rhythm that respects your bandwidth. Write notes that no one will publish. When love learns to leak beyond its edges, it stops imploding under its own beauty. Outward flow is the quiet proof that the inward well is real. Attend to the textures of home. Light that doesn't interrogate. Food that slows the conversation. A corner where a book and a blanket are always speaking terms. Music that remembers not every hour needs lyrics. Order is not control. It is kindness with edges. The more predictable the kindness, the braver the conversation can be. The more beautiful the ordinary, the less pressure you will place on holidays to save you from your habits. Invite God into the middle, not the margins. Pray with your real voices, not your resumes. Ask for help before you need rescue. Thank Him for the boring gifts, because boredom is what thrilled people call peace once they've healed. Read aloud a line that moved you. Share the verse that corrected you. Confess together when glory tempted you to forget who gave it. The presence you practice on quiet Tuesdays will hold you on louder Thursdays when news arrives or plans change. Prepare to carry each other's names into rooms you will never both enter. This is part of deepening's dignity, advocacy without announcement. You will find yourself speaking their goodness in places where it earns them no points and costs you nothing. You will find yourself saying, "I need to get home," not because you are controlled, but because love has become your favorite place to stand. You will discover that faithfulness makes you more free, not less. When seasons shift as they do, keep the ritual of review. Sit on the edge of the bed or the end of the walk and ask, what is working? What has grown heavy? What needs mending? What wants celebrating? Celebrate like people who expect to keep celebrating for years. Mend like people who expect to keep mending with joy. Depth is not an achievement, it is a way of traveling together. And at night, when the house settles and the sky writes its slow sentences, lay the day back into God's hands. Bless the simple mercies, shared meals, shared jokes, shared silence, shared courage. Name the places you felt more yourselves because the other stood near. Ask for more truth than talent, more patience than passion, more holiness than hype. Sleep without guarding the door. Love that is deep knows the watchman better than the night. In the morning you will wake to the same faces and a slightly stronger frame, and you will recognize the quiet miracle for what it is. Two lives deepening not by falling farther, but by standing truer, until the phrase "the love of my life" stops sounding like a wish and starts sounding like your address. Chosen one, there comes a day when guessing loosens its grip and knowing takes a seat. It does not arrive with alarms or spectacle. It settles like morning light that has no need to argue with the dark it replaces. You will notice it first in your breathing. Not the gasps of infatuation or the held breath of performance, but the quiet measure of a body that believes it is allowed to be where it is. Peace and desire learn to share a table without crowding the plates. You look across at the one who has been walking beside you, and the air between you is not a negotiation. It is an answer. Confirmation does not erase your humanity. It reduces the noise around it. There is still calendar and commute, still dishes and delays, but none of these are asked to prove or disprove the holy. The ordinary becomes articulate, speaking in small sentences that point in the same direction. Plans keep happening and do not require theatrics to remain interesting. Silences keep arriving and do not feel like tests. Confessions keep their edges and do not turn into weapons. You find yourselves returning, without memo or mandate, to the same tone of voice that respects both tenderness and truth. That sameness is not dullness, it is continuity, and continuity is what covenant uses to build. The confirmations you receive will be the kind that do not need an audience. A conversation that should have escalated and didn't. A misunderstanding that should have humiliated and didn't. A boundary expressed that should have frozen the room and didn't. Each time this happens, something inside you stands up straighter without getting taller. You are not living on exemptions anymore. You are living on agreements that keep proving they can hold weight. Your high energy begins to hum softer, not because it has been dimmed, but because it has found resonance. Power that has nothing to defend chooses clarity over volume. Your community, when invited in due season, becomes part of the music rather than a jury for the scene. The ones who remember your rough drafts notice that the edits you've made to your life are not cosmetic. The edges that used to cut are sanded. The pauses you used to dread feel pastoral. The generosity you offered strangers begins to live at home without choreography. No one has to be convinced. They watch you attend to each other in unremarkable ways, refilling a glass, defending a boundary, ending the night while affection is still warm. And they exhale for reasons they do not need to explain. Real love places its weight on simple things and finds them still standing in the morning. Confirmation speaks through the body in a language your mind forgot it knew. After time together, you sleep as if the nervous system has been believed. Your appetite for distraction declines because your attention has somewhere honest to sit. You choose better food without a campaign, tidy the corner of your room without a lecture, answer messages on time because you are no longer trying to buy oxygen with availability. Your body stops campaigning to be listened to. It has been heard, and in being heard, it grows quiet enough to carry delight without turning it into a project. God will do what he often does when he wants you to notice something without worshiping the method. He will repeat himself gently. A verse arrives twice from different mouths and lands without fanfare. A long-ignored practice suddenly wants to live again and does not feel like punishment. A phrase you used to say as aspiration comes out of your mouth as description. None of this would convince a skeptic across a table. All of it convinces the part of you that has learned to tell the difference between pressure and promise. You smile at the sky because it seems to be in on it, and then you keep walking at the same pace because confirmation is not a green light for hurry. It is a green light for honesty. There will still be moments of weather. A plan will fail, a tone will miss, an assumption will announce itself late. Confirmation is tested precisely here, where the old stories would have rushed to rename the day a disaster. Instead, you both choose repair over reputation. You lower your voices rather than raising your volume. You say what happened instead of accusing each other of identities. You favor verbs over adjectives. I interrupted, I can wait. I withdrew, I can return. I overpromised, I can plan better. The speed of these repairs becomes one of the loudest signals that you are where you're meant to be. Love that is real is not fragile. It does not avoid splinters. It keeps a gentle toolkit nearby. Money, that blunt translator of values, will join the conversation. Together you will make small decisions that do not mortgage tomorrow for a photograph today. You will give in ways that do not require announcement and save in ways that do not require apology. You will choose dinners that feed instead of impress, holidays that restore instead of perform, schedules that make room for rest the way cities make room for parks. None of this is glamorous. All of this is sacred. The confirmation you seek is hiding inside the arithmetic you practice without resentment. Your high sexual energy, stewarded through all these chapters, will confirm itself by what it refuses to consume. It becomes a shelter instead of a lever. Consent continues to be the music rather than a checkpoint. Pace continues to be the rail rather than a restraint. Affection rests in its own skin. Touch tells the truth about care and does not invoice tomorrow for what it borrowed tonight. You discover that warmth is not smaller when it is governed, it is cleaner. Clean warmth can stay. It grows a memory that blesses you both in the very hour where ungoverned heat would have asked you to forget yourselves. At the end of days like these, your prayer changes tone. You are not bargaining or begging, not presenting evidence to a skeptical heaven. You are returning what you were given in the same condition or better. Thank you for the timing I could not have designed. Thank you for the yeses that stayed yes, because the no's were honored. Thank you for the way our edges held when the weather tried talking us into cleverness. And where you missed the mark, you hand that back too, before it hardens into shame. This is where I wanted to be impressive more than present. This is where I rushed instead of asked. This is where I can be truer tomorrow. Confirmation is not a certificate. It is the freedom to pray without pretending. When you wake, you do not check for a sign. You keep a promise. That is what confirmation ultimately is, the growing ease with which you keep the promises you intend to live by. Your life is answering you back, and its answer is coherent. The path is not without stones, but it is without deceit. You can see far enough to take the next step. You take it, not because you are fearless, but because peace keeps waving you forward like a friend on a porch that used to be a mirage and is now an address. Chosen one, union is not the triumph of spectacle. It is the quiet coronation of stewardship. You do not arrive at it like a celebrity stepping onto a carpet. You step into it like a gardener crossing a threshold at dawn, ready to tend what he loves. The world adores beginnings that can be photographed, but union prefers beginnings that can be repeated. What you have been recognizing becomes something you can name. What you have been pacing becomes something you can plan. What you have been protecting becomes something you can build inside of without fearing collapse. Union asks for vows before it asks for venues. Vows are not only sentences spoken once, they are the daily agreements that teach your mouth how to keep the big words clean. I will tell you the truth at a speed we can afford. I will let my yes be yes without smuggling in a maybe to negotiate with later. I will end my day in a way that keeps tomorrow able to trust me. I will keep consent as our climate, not our checkpoint. I will love you with my calendar and my cash flow and my tone, not only with my adjectives. These promissories become architecture. Walls that warm, doors that open, windows that insist on light. Your high sexual energy takes its rightful throne here, not as a king who changes laws, but as a minister who serves the good of the realm. It animates play and tenderness, creativity and courage. It keeps the faces soft and the laughter unconscripted. Chosen one, there is a hum beneath your days that did not begin with you and will not end with you. If you sit still long enough in the morning, you can hear it under the kettle, beneath the traffic, inside your chest. It is not anxiety. Anxiety scrambles. It is not nostalgia. Nostalgia edits. This sound is older and simpler. It is calling rather than craving. God has tuned your life to a higher note and the world is starting to harmonize. The result is a pull that does not shout and does not bargain. Doors notice you before you knock. Conversations drift your way like boats released from small ropes. Strangers smile as if they recognize a face from a dream they never remember. You are not imagining it. Heaven has raised your voltage and wrapped it in purpose. You do not need to manufacture this current with strategies or spectacle. You do not need to decorate it with a performance. The assignment is quieter. Carry it well. The love of your life is not arriving because you have finally learned the right lines or perfected the right pose. They are arriving because your spirit has grown honest enough to be found. The magnetic field around you is not about conquest. It is about coherence. Your mind and body have stopped arguing with each other, and the peace between them throws a signal farther than any spotlight could. This is why you feel less compelled to chase and more inclined to stand where you truly are. What is meant for you can find you now because you are not hiding from yourself. Understand the mercy of this timing. All the slow seasons, the failed almosts, the brave endings were not punishments. They were preparation. God was sanding edges you did not know could cut. He was teaching you the difference between loneliness and readiness, between intensity and intimacy, between attention and affection. Loneliness begged for noise. Readiness learns to be quiet enough to hear footsteps that do not stomp. Intensity arrived as fireworks and vanished in smoke. Intimacy builds like dawn and keeps its light. Attention consumes you as content. Affection returns you to yourself. Your months have been a curriculum, and you have passed enough tests to carry what is precious without breaking it. Your high sexual energy is not a sin to be smothered, nor a trophy to be paraded. It is a language, and God speaks it fluently. He will not mute what He made. He will teach it to say true things. In lesser seasons, that current ran ahead of your character and bought moments your soul could not afford. Now, the current and the character travel together. Desire does not demand, it directs. Longing does not leak, it listens. You can hold heat without turning the room into weather. You can feel the pull without turning anyone into a prize. This is the maturity that lets destiny touch the body without confusing it for a bargain. You will notice the pull in ordinary places, in the way a cashier lingers on your change as if time had widened by a breath, in the way a friend of a friend suddenly feels familiar, in the way a conversation skips small talk and lands on a sentence that stays with you into the night. None of this requires you to become louder. In fact, your quiet will be the most persuasive thing about you. It tells the room you are not renting a story, you are living one. It tells the one who is looking for you that they do not need to audition to be allowed in. The divine pull is not a hook, it is a harbor. People feel it and rest before they even know why. Do not hurry this hour. The pull is not proof that you must move fast. It is proof that you can move faithfully. You will be tempted to sprint because warm air makes lungs feel stronger than they are. Resist the theater of rushing. Walk at the speed where truth can keep up. Let your words be the size of your intentions. Let your eyes be the place where another person's dignity does not have to brace. Let your goodbyes be clean enough to make room for tomorrows that are not obligated by tonight. God is not delivering your future by overnight mail. He is walking it to you at a human pace so your character can greet it at the door. Do not confuse inevitability with entitlement. Favor is not owed, it is entrusted. Stewardship is how you say thank you. Keep the simple practices that made you clear enough to be found, sleep that protects your kindness, prayer that keeps your edges soft and your spine straight, work that tells your body it is useful for more than display, counsel that can correct you without building a courtroom. These things are not accessories to romance. They are the foundation that keeps joy from becoming debt. Your pull will increase or decrease with these choices. Your story is not at the mercy of luck. It is being written in the margins of your habits. You are allowed to enjoy this. Holy things are not fragile when handled with reverence. Smile when the timing is uncanny. Laugh when the sentence lands like a key in a lock you forgot you owned. Write it down when a small sign repeats twice, then again, as if God is having fun threading breadcrumbs where even you can't miss them. Enjoy the way your body relaxes around peace and stands taller in honor. Enjoy the way your voice settles into a tone that does not negotiate its own value. Enjoy the way rooms feel brighter without feeling harsher. Joy is not a trap. It is evidence that hope is allowed to be at home in you. When the day ends, return the pull to the one who lent it. Name the moments you almost used it to make yourself larger and thank God for the restraint that kept you recognizable to your own soul. Name the moments you felt seen without being consumed. Name the names, even if you only met them once, and bless them with a prayer that does not try to hire the future. Sleep as someone who trusts that magnets do not lose their strength in the dark. Morning will come, and the hum will still be there, patient, steady, sure. Walk in it without vanity and watch what is yours find its way home. Chosen one, desire tells the truth about what is alive in you. It is not the enemy of holiness, it is the instrument holiness tunes. This month, your desire will function like a mirror you cannot avoid. It will show you where you are whole and where you are hungry, where you are ready and where you are rehearsing, where you have learned to hold fire like a craft and where you still treat it like weather. Look without flinching. God is not shaming you with this reflection. He is inviting you to read it rightly so you can speak the language of your body without lying about your soul. The mirror will first clarify your past. You will recognize patterns used to call chemistry that were actually chaos wearing cologne. You will remember connections that felt urgent because you mistook adrenaline for anointing. You will see how often your gaze asked for performance when what you wanted was presence. Do not condemn the younger version of yourself. Bless them for surviving without a map, and thank them for bringing you this far. Then take the pencil from their hand. You are writing now with a steadier stroke. Desire under discipline does not erase passion. It gives it somewhere to live. Your high sexual energy is a river. The mirror is showing you its banks. Without banks, a river floods fields and calls it romance. With banks, it irrigates, it powers mills, it carries boats. The person coming toward you is not a floodplain to be overwhelmed. They are a garden to be honored. The mirror will ask simple questions with complicated answers. Can you hold attraction without turning it into appetite? Can you let admiration be a gift instead of an invoice? Can you pace longing so that trust has time to grow roots and not just flowers? These are not exams you pass in theory. You pass them by how slowly your hand moves when your name is praised, by how early your mouth says a gentle no to anything that would make you someone you have already repented of being. Desire mirrors desire. The one you meet will not be a blank wall reflecting only you. They will have their own river, their own banks, their own weather. The beauty of this month is not that you will finally be allowed to be large. It is that you will finally be allowed to be matched. Expect to feel the rare relief of being seen where you are strongest and where you are softest without having to negotiate either. Expect to learn new rhythms because two instruments tuned to the same key still need time to learn a shared song. Expect to be surprised by how much silence can hold when trust is building a frame around it. A true mirror rejects vanity. It refuses to flatter you into forgetting your vows. As warmth grows, the reflection will test whether your boundaries are decorations or doors. You will feel the old urge to speed the hour because everything in you is finally facing forward. Breathe. If the future is truly yours, it will not be lost to a slower pace. If it is not yours, speed will not make it faithful. Remember that timing is not a tax. It is an act of reverence for the humanity on both sides of the moment. The mirror will remind you, you came here to love, not to win. Desire, purified, becomes direction. You will notice your preferences simplifying. Instead of craving spectacle, you will crave continuity. Instead of hunting for perfection, you will look for the kind of integrity that ages well. Instead of needing an audience, you will find yourself needing a kitchen table where laughter does not require collateral damage and disagreement does not threaten the future. The mirror will make you honest about the life you are truly building. It will ask whether your calendar can host the love you pray for, whether your habits are hospitable to another person's heart, whether your plans leave room for the unpredictabilities of grace. This mirror will also protect you from counterfeits. Not everything that glows is guidance. Some smiles will be invitations to repeat an old lesson louder. Some coincidences will be tests of whether you love a sign more than the sender. The counterfeit will praise your brightness and then quietly ask you to dim your conscience. The real will enjoy your brightness and then invite your conscience to sit at the table. The counterfeit will rush intimacy and call caution fear. The real will honor pace and call clarity love. You do not need to argue with the counterfeit. Stand still long enough, and your reflection will tell you everything you need to know. Let the mirror teach your body new manners. Touch, when it comes, must be fluent in the language of consent and covenant, not dialects of entitlement. Words, when they deepen, must be paid for by reality, not purchased on credit against a fantasy. Time, when it is shared, must be stewarded like the holy place it is. These are not restrictions designed to make love smaller. They are the edges that make love take shape. Desire without edges is a fog that leaves everyone damp. Desire with edges is a window where light looks like itself. The mirror will also show you joy you almost forgot you could feel. There will be moments when your chest warms at nothing but the sound of a voice you trust. There will be evenings that end without cliffhangers and still feel glorious. There will be mornings when your first thought is gratitude without a bargaining chip hidden underneath it. This is what desire looks like when it is no longer trying to prove that you are alive. It looks like peace with a pulse. It looks like laughter that lands gently and stays. It looks like the ability to be fully present without calculating the cost of being honest. At the close of the day, return to the mirror that cannot lie, God's face towards you. Hold up everything you noticed. The pull that felt like promise, the glance that felt like home, the sentence that made you braver, the moment you wished you had been softer, the boundary that held. Ask for help where your reflection revealed a crack. Thank Him where the image grew clearer. Then step away and sleep. Mirrors do not make you, they show you. God makes you, and He is not finished. You will wake with the same river and stronger banks, and somewhere not far now, another river is learning your name. Chosen one, before love takes a seat at your table, God teaches your hands how to set it. He has been preparing you with the patient tools of a craftsman, not the glitter of a stagehand. The ache you carried in quieter months was not proof that heaven forgot you. It was the tension a bow must hold before it can sing. You learned to live with that pull without spending it carelessly, and the learning made room inside your chest for something larger than adrenaline. The love of your life belongs in that room, not in the rush that used to knock on your door at inappropriate hours and call itself fate. Preparation begins with honest inventory. Walk through the rooms of your interior house the way a careful steward walks a property after winter. What is cracked from cold and needs warmth? What is warped by hurry and needs time? What is simply heavy because it held more than it was designed to hold? You will find stories you have been telling yourself about why good things avoid you. You will discover that some of those stories were just armor that lived too long. Lay them down. They were useful once. They are untrue now. God is not asking you to forget the corridors you survived. He is asking you to stop renting them a permanent address in your future. Your high sexual energy is part of this audit. It does not require suppression. It requires stewardship. Treat it as a current that powers the home rather than lightning that chases headlines. Let it fund attentiveness so you hear what is said and what is trusted to silence. Let it pay for patience, so pace becomes a gift rather than a test. Let it resource craftsmanship in the work you do, because the way you handle assignments is a rehearsal for the way you will handle a heart. When energy learns its lanes, it stops insisting and starts serving. In that shift, your presence changes temperature from impressive to safe, and safety is where love recognizes itself. Preparation also looks like forgiveness practiced without an audience. Not the cheap variety that denies hurt, but the strong kind that releases claim. Old grievances are loud little creditors. They keep knocking long after the debt is settled. Speak to them plainly. I will not charge my next covenant for your interest. Forgive those who did not know how to read you. Forgive the version of yourself who tried to be readable by shrinking. Forgive the delays that were actually kindness disguised as inconvenience. Forgiveness is not amnesia. It is the decision to let healing have the last word when memory tries to rehearse pain as identity. Make room in ways that can be measured. Clear a drawer. Empty a shelf. Put a spare key somewhere it has never existed before. Set an extra plate at dinner, even if nobody sits there tonight. The body understands symbols better than the mind pretends. It will begin to live as if welcome is possible. And while you are at it, adjust your calendar, the way a gardener adjusts the trellis before the vine arrives. Leave margins that can cradle spontaneous joy. Choose bedtimes that protect your best self in the morning when attention returns to you, because the first minutes of the day are where tenderness learns its gait. Your readiness is not a mood, it is infrastructure. Speak to God about your standards until they are sentences you can say with a gentle voice and a straight spine. I will not hurry what I hope to honor. I will not spend my integrity to buy intimacy on credit. I will not confuse the thrill of being seen with the work of being known. These are not slogans for a wall. They are tools for a life. Hold them in your pocket where your hands can find them when admiration arrives, warm and persuasive. The right person will hear these lines and feel safer. The wrong one will hear them and grow impatient. Either way, you will not be confused for long. Learn to bless endings while they are still small. A good goodbye is a rehearsal for covenant, because covenant depends on boundaries that can keep wonder from souring. End evenings before scarcity starts negotiating. End conversations before explanations outnumber truths. End flirtations without ceremony when you notice you are being asked to trade clarity for chemistry. Each clean exit teaches your soul that love does not require drama to be memorable. It freights your spirit with a lightness that makes meeting the right person feel like a continuation rather than a rescue. Invite counsel from the few whose lives carry the fruit you hope to grow. Let them ask you the unglamorous questions every bright season tries to dodge. Are you rested enough to be kind? Are you telling the truth to yourself when nobody is grading you? Are you building a life that can host a second soul without asking them to live as your solution? These questions will sand away hurried fantasies without touching your hope. They will also tune your ear to distinguish between the music of destiny and the noise of attention. Attention is cheap and loud. Destiny is steady and knows your name. Practice the language of consent until it is the accent of your life. The love of your life will be fluent in it. You cultivate this by asking before you move closer, by offering exits that do not turn anyone into a villain, by honoring no as information rather than injury. Consent is not a checkpoint that turns green and lets the night go faster. It is the climate where yes can be joyful. When your manner makes consent easy, you are not merely behaving well. You are announcing you can be trusted with a future. The kind of person you are calling will hear that announcement like a familiar song. A final note in your preparation: protect wonder. Do not spend it on imagination that outruns facts. Do not punish it when a day is ordinary. Wonder keeps love soft after the cameras leave. Wonder will let you laugh together while paying bills, will let you pray together when words are few, will let you wait together when answers are slow. Keep it alive by noticing small things and naming them quietly. A breeze that smells like rain. A sentence you needed, overheard in a line. The way your heart did not sprint today when it would have last year. These are tiny rehearsals for gratitude, and gratitude is where love learns to stay. You will not finish this preparation and receive a certificate. You will simply wake up in a life that can carry what is walking toward you. Then, without trumpets, something beautiful will cross your path, and your whole self will answer, not with panic or performance, but with a peace that says at last. Chosen one, the meeting will be smaller than legend promised and larger than language can hold. It will not arrive with spotlights. It will arrive with proportion. Perhaps the first sign will be that your breathing does not misbehave. The heart will lift, yes, but it will not riot. Peace will sit down next to excitement and they will not argue. Your spirit will register alignment before your mind completes its checklist, like a compass needle settling and then staying put. Do not audition. Do not narrate your significance to the moment. Let the moment speak. The first exchange may be clumsy or exquisite. Either way, attend to the honesty of it. Listen for sentences that carry weight without needing volume. Watch for jokes that don't wound to prove they are clever. Notice how easily both of you can say, "I don't know," without it sounding like failure. These are not niceties. They are load-bearing beams. Where they exist, build. Where they don't, bless and keep walking. Your high sexual energy will feel different here. It will not lunge, it will lean. It will not negotiate for discounts. It will invest in patience. The chemistry will be real enough to skip small talk, but do not let it skip truth. Let your attraction become attention. How does their face change when they talk about what matters? How do they treat interruptions that cost them convenience? How do they handle a gentle boundary, yours or their own? Attraction becomes sacred when it serves discernment instead of sabotaging it. The sacred encounter is recognized as much by what it is not as by what it is. It is not a countdown. No clock in the room will threaten either of you into a yes you cannot afford. It is not a sale. No pitch will convert admiration into obligation. It is not a rescue. Neither of you will pretend the other is a hospital for wounds you refuse to let God touch. It is, simply and gloriously, a conversation that continues to be human even while it hums with something holy. You will be tempted to read signs so closely that you stop reading the person. Resist superstition, masquerading as faith. Patterns may appear, numbers on a receipt, a lyric that repeats, a shared memory of a place you both once called home. Smile at them. Do not mortgage your judgment to them. The truest sign will be the one your nervous system offers without ceremony: rest. If you can be fully yourself without earning your oxygen, pay attention. If you can say a clear no without the atmosphere freezing, pay attention. If silence can visit without being forced to perform, pay attention. These are confirmations the body knows how to give long before the mind drafts its arguments. Set pace together on purpose. Offer the dignity of an unhurried follow-up, rather than the drama of constant contact you cannot sustain. When you do speak again, trade specifics rather than slogans, not grand declarations, but, "Here is where I tell the truth, even when it is inconvenient. Here is how I end my day so that tomorrow can trust me. Here is what I am not good at, and what I am actively practicing." Vulnerability that names effort is safer than vulnerability that begs for rescue. You will both feel the difference. Protect the encounter from the committee. Keep it small long enough to hear it for yourself. Share with one or two whose discernment has history, not with the chorus line of opinions, however affectionate. Sacred things spoil in rooms that demand content. When you do invite your circle to meet this new goodness, watch how they respond to your wholeness. Real friends bless what makes you more yourself. They will not rush you or romanticize you. They will steady you. Their questions will sound like care, not curiosity dressed as gossip. There will be a threshold you cross together without announcing it. Perhaps it will be the first conflict that does not recruit spectators. Perhaps it will be the first apology that arrives without an invoice attached. Perhaps it will be the first plan you make that includes rest as a line item instead of a leftover. These small thresholds are sacraments. Mark them without theatrics. Gratitude is enough ceremony for beginnings that intend to last. Bring your practices into the encounter so the meeting has somewhere to live. Pray in ordinary ways, not as a performance but as a habit of returning the center to its rightful owner. Keep Sabbath shapes even while the newness tempts you to spend every hour together. Honor your work so you do not ask romance to do the job of purpose. Honor their work so you do not confuse access with love. In such a rhythm, passion does not have to prove itself by being constant, it proves itself by being faithful. Let words be accurate. Say I like you when you mean it and not before. Say I am curious about us at the speed of truth. Say I want to keep this clean even when it's warm. Accuracy is kindness when stakes are this high. It is also a hedge against regret, which grows best in the fields of exaggeration. You will discover that correct labels make affection more spacious, not less. They allow both of you to bring a future into the room without dragging it by the hair. Leave well in every chapter, even the very first evening. End before the night starts bargaining with what the morning would not cosign. A gentle goodbye is not a cooling of interest. It is an investment in tomorrow's clarity. When you part, carry each other as prayer rather than possession. Bless their sleep. Bless their work. Bless their pace. Release them back to God and to themselves. Encounters protected like this do not have to be rescued later from the story you told about them when you were tired. If the holy keeps appearing, your lives will begin to braid at a speed both of you can pay for. Families will be met, schedules will be adjusted, sacrifices will be made without martyrdom. The world around you will try to call this a merger. It is not. It is a covenant being courted by two people who still belong to God first. That order will be your kindness to each other in every season, because it keeps neither of you responsible for doing the work only heaven can do. And if, against odds and headlines, you discover that this is indeed the love of your life, resist triumphalism. Choose stewardship instead. Keep doing the ordinary things that made extraordinary possible. Clear speech, early endings, quick repairs, laughter without cruelty, desire that remains generous, faith that remains teachable. Months from now, when someone asks what the moment felt like when you knew, you might not have a single sentence to give them. You will have a life to point to, quiet, bright, governed, a life that made room for two souls to recognize each other without having to heal from the way they met. Chosen one, when two frequencies meet in the right season, they do not collide, they coordinate. This is the month your current learns choreography, and the steps are older than language. Think of how a tide negotiates with the moon. Pull, release, pull again. Never frantic, never inert, always faithful to an unseen rhythm. Your high energy has spent years learning not to burn through rooms. Now it learns how to move with another soul without demanding that they become a mirror. The dance begins before hands ever touch. It begins with how you listen. You will notice yourself leaning not forward to hurry a moment, but inward to understand it. The space between your words becomes breathable. Your attention stops performing and starts hosting. In that climate, attraction is permitted to slow down into accuracy, and accuracy is how passion becomes durable. The first measure of this dance is calibration. You will feel an impulse to prove your warmth, and you will let that impulse pass through you without recruiting it as a policy. The body does not need a demonstration to recognize safety, it needs a pace. Offer pace. Let your tone set a metronome the nervous system trusts, one that refuses to buy intimacy with urgency or trade clarity for novelty. You will discover that the highest compliment attraction can pay is neither flattery nor fireworks, but the sound of another person's breath lengthening while they speak to you. When that happens, do less, not more. You are witnessing alignment. It does not require amplification. It requires stewardship. There is a tenderness to leading that is not about control. In a good dance, the lead listens to the follow with their whole frame. They propose a direction quietly and are ready to change it the instant the shared balance asks for something different. Translate that to conversation, and you will find the steps. You suggest a subject, and if their eyes dim even a little, you turn gently, and the two of you face a different window. You notice when a story is more expensive for them to tell than the room can afford, and you build a chair out of silence and let them sit. You hear the hope hidden in a joke, and you bless the hope rather than harvesting the joke for laughter. In such movements, the body learns you will not spend it for spectacle. Awe becomes ease, ease becomes trust, trust becomes room for love to enter without holding its breath. Let the dance be fluent in consent, not as an intermission, but as the music itself. Consent is the beat that keeps improvisation honest. It is the nod before a step, the glance before a turn, the shared grin that says we are still with each other. Ask for proximity with the humility of a question whose answer might be no and remain beautiful. Offer exits that do not punish their taker. Keep your invitations accurate to your integrity, so the yes that follows is never coerced by charisma. When the music is consent, even desire can be holy. It will want, but it will not take. It will hunger, but it will not invoice. It will grow, but it will not crowd. You will learn the step called restraint without distance. Many mistake restraint for cold. This month teaches you its warmth. Restraint is how fire remembers it is a hearth and not a wildfire. You will feel moments where you could dazzle with disclosure, flood with attention, or purchase momentum with late hours. Choose the smaller, steadier step. Leave while tenderness is still bright. Save a story for the day it will bless rather than impress. Send the message when your honesty can pay for it. Each modest step is a vote for longevity over legend, and longevity is the floor where love learns to dance barefoot. Your energy will be tempted to rehearse old choreography, chasing, proving, collecting sparks because sparks feel like progress. Let the new rhythm be stronger than nostalgia. Sparks are valid and small. Do not force them to pretend to be a fire. You will know the kindling is real when conversation keeps its temperature without being stoked, when laughter does not need a casualty to be memorable, when pauses deepen rather than threaten. At that point, begin to share weight. Good dancers know when to carry and when to be carried. Share your calendar in ways that respect both lives.